What up? What up? Got the original Longwood coming at y'all. Want to talk about a couple of things real quick. I'm gonna get up out of here. I should have went live, but you know how that go. You know what I'm saying? You go live, people jump in the comment section, and next thing you know, you're having a conversation with people, about different things. So that's why I want to go live. You know what I'm saying? I got to go to work today, right? But this is important. We need to have this talk, guys. Okay? And this talk is good. Is what are you guys going to be prepared to do? Right? Or what are you prepared to do? All right? Now, you don't have to tell me, right? You don't have to jump down the comment section and, I'm just putting it out there as a question, right? It needs and deserves an answer, but it doesn't have to be out loud, right? The answer. It doesn't have to be out loud. You don't have to answer that to a specific person, but you yourself have to answer that question. What are you willing and what are you prepared to do? Okay? Because as you all see, they haven't slowed down. They haven't stopped. They haven't, all of the things that we're dealing with now, they just haven't stopped. Okay? And if you ask me, they won't stop. That's only if you ask. And the reason why I asked the question, what are you willing and prepared to do, is because what we've done or have not done up until this point is how we've gotten to where we are. That's how we've gotten here. And in my opinion, if you ask me, I think a lot of it just came from the fact that people just doing nothing. Okay? But I ask it also because there's going to come a time where you're going to be tested. And you're going to have to make decisions, right? Unfortunately, COVID wasn't enough for people. It wasn't enough. So now you're going to be tested again, but it's going to be more severe this time. Now, they say they're supposed to have ice full blast in the streets of Chicago. I haven't heard anything from anybody that I know. I got friends, acquaintances. I have relatives that live in the city. I haven't heard anything. All right. Now, I plan on seeing my son. I don't know. I'm going to try to do it this weekend. But you know how it is when both of y'all work and one person work they got like retail hours and, shit like that. So I should be in the city this weekend. If I see anything out of the ordinary or out of the, out of the norm or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying, I'll let y'all know. I'll get on here and post a video or something. You know what I'm saying? Just like I used to for, all of the people that's been down with me for years with my channel, like from my first channel. Y'all know how I used to do on my first channel. I used to bring y'all actual footage of shit in different areas of the city limits of Chicago. So when I get to the city this weekend, if I see anything or some shit pop off or whatever, I'll record it and put it on here. All right? But as I told y'all in my last video, just the mere presence of all of these so-called officers and the mere fact of them wanting to bring the military in here correlates with this whole digital ID and the digital currency because it's all linked together, right? For anybody who don't know, so anybody who's new to my channel, we talk about a lot of different things on here. One of them being nationality, right? Genealogy, right? As well as discharging debt and a lot of different United States codes and Code of Federal Regulations and all these different things that, you know what I'm saying, that go along with this whole so-called debt system we have. I read as well for the newcomers. I suggest you go back through some of my videos so you can, get caught up to speed on a lot of stuff that I show. All right. But I'm telling you guys, this whole thing with them wanting the military here, they want you to get used to it. Like, for example, let me give you an example. Remember the whole military thing in the subways of New York City? Remember that? We got to bring in the National Guard and they got to patrol our subways and shit to make sure that people are safe. Right? So now all of a sudden, you having the military do a job that so-called policy officers used to do. Right? Now all of a sudden, for some reason, they just can't do this fucking job. And you need to bring in military. That's to get you ready for it. That's to get you used to it. Because that's what's coming. That's what's coming. And what I mean by that is there may just be an attempt. Now, you guys know, just like the rest of the world knows, you can't piss us off here. And motherfuckers do fight here. They will fight. And you know that. Okay? So it may not be something that they may be successful at, but it still may be something that we have to endure like how we did during COVID. Right? And again, I bring up the question of what people are willing to do. What decisions are you willing to make when the time comes? Because look at how people treated COVID. I know motherfuckers, man, personally, that was walking around acting like everything was okay. Going back to that NPC shit that they be talking about, that non-player character shit. Going back to that. Like I said, I just call him a dumbass. Now, if you call him an NPC, it's fine. As long as we talking about the same person for the same reason. You know how I feel. Like I tell y'all about the Anunnaki and all that other stuff. It's the same thing with that. You call her Anunnaki or whatever. But when I show a picture of Nancy Pelosi, creepy ass, if you refer to that son of a bitch as a reptilian or some sort of shit, then okay, we talking about the same person. I just call it a creepy motherfucker. Right? But we still talking about the same person. So I've watched a lot of people who just walked around and act like everything was okay during COVID. I'm talking about blinders. Like we gotta come up with a new term. Fucking blinders. How about fucking robotic? How about remote control? That's a little bit better than blinders. These motherfuckers didn't just have blinders on. It was like they were being controlled by something other than them to be walking around and acting as if you don't see what's happening. That's the reason why I'm asking that question. Okay? The other reason why I'm asking the question is, we already know that the so-called policy officers or so-called Leos have been totally out of control, totally authoritarian for the last 15 years. Give or take. I'm talking about totally out of fucking control. It's probably been longer than 15 years. Right? But they've been so out of control that even with all these cameras and shit, you got to wear a body camera and this, that, and the other. But they get to turn it off and control when they got it on and all this other bullshit. And, they can mute the fucking microphone and all. It's like, well, what the fuck is the point in that? Then it takes 6 months for them to release the body cam footage or them blowing a motherfucker down that they know they shouldn't have blew down. It take you 9 months or a year to release the body cam. What the fuck is the point in that? The whole point was to show you this is what we doing. They're taking down their mask. Toto has pulled back the curtain. Okay? The wizard has been exposed. That's what's happened. And like I said, cops have been out of control for the last 15 years. And I'm being generous. All right? I'm being generous when I say the last 15 years. It's probably been a hell of a lot longer than that. Where they just been out of fucking control. Crime has not gotten any better. No fucking policy officer or so-called Leo can answer the question of, well, if you reduce the crime rate from where it is now down to 2, 3, 4% across the country, then what the fuck gonna happen to y'all? Nobody wants to have that conversation. NPCs. Most cops are NPCs, if you ask me. Seeing that people like to throw around titles and labels and shit, because y'all know I ain't into all that, man. I don't really get into all that shit. But just so we all on the same page and y'all understand that, I'm not fighting y'all, I'm not like against y'all, you know what I'm saying? I'll use some of these terms and labels just for the sake of you guys completely understanding what I'm saying. Most cops are NPCs. Most district attorneys and hell, even an attorney that represents you is an NPC. They set in motion to one direction all the fucking time, no matter what. It's got to be fucking incredible being with these people on a personal level, like relatives, your girlfriend, your husband. I can only imagine what their relationship is like. So I'm asking the question of what are people prepared to do? Because we already seeing what the fuck they prepared to do. Now we don't know future shit until they like tell us. But you know, motherfuckers like me and a lot of other people, we put two and two together. Going back to the whole thing about what I was saying about the military coming to these major cities and all this. If you read the King's Alfred plan and many other documents that they done wrote that they said was fake and tinfoil hat bullshit, if you read a lot of that shit, they tell you they got to lock down the major cities first. The major cities have to succumb. I read an article today where they were supposed to did an ICE raid or something in some apartment over in the South Shore area. It's funny they didn't give you the address. I think they said 75th in South Shore, but they didn't get an actual address. Now, I do know that there were migrants staying in a big giant courtway building that my son used to live in, because my son used to stay on South Shore, 77th, if I'm not mistaken. He had an apartment over there, a big-ass courtway building, and there were tons of migrants in that building. I know this for a fact because I used to come to his crib and hang out with him. That's how come I know I saw him. And it was a bunch of them packed in one apartment and several apartments within that building. Matter of fact, my son had told me by the time he moved in, within like 4 or 5 months, all the motherfuckers that predominantly looked like us and him had moved out. And they were occupying those units now. Right? So the point that I'm bringing up is this. What are you prepared to do when they come for you? Because it's going to happen. They were saying that they interviewed some chick, and this was in a news article that I read, and they was talking about how, you know, they was him and so-called black people up. Right? And they made reference to a Black Hawk helicopter. Right? Now, you know, a lot of this shit is contrived, even the news articles that they write. Right? We know this. But the point of the matter is this. I've been telling y'all they've been flying helicopters in Chicago, man. And when I tell you they've been flying them in Chicago, it's been damn near like how Los Angeles do. Because, you know, Los Angeles been on that shit. Like, if you in LA and you see helicopters and shit, you don't really trip too much now, at least in 2025, because they've been doing it for so long. But when they started doing it in Chicago, it's like, well, wait a minute, man. We didn't used to have all these helicopters out here. You used to see helicopters hovering over the motherfucking expressways, giving you the road reports and shit, and, you know, giving you the news. Like, if it was a bad accident or something, that shit would be all over the news or whatever case may be. But since COVID started, man, and when I say since COVID started, I'm talking about when they shut the city down. Remember when they shut the whole fucking country down and shit? Since that day up until now, they've been flying helicopters all over the fucking place. When I first moved out here to the fucking complex I lived in now, I watched the motherfucking sheriff's department do a drill. This had to have been a drill. They was doing touch and goes. I didn't talk to too many military motherfuckers, and I did too much extensive research on military to not know some of the shit that they're doing. And they literally was doing touch and goes, man. They touched down with the helicopter, and when I say for a split fucking second, he didn't touch the ground. He kissed that motherfucker for a split second and rose right back in the air. It's like, yeah, you doing touch and goes, you dropping niggas off and they getting the fuck out of there. Heavy gunfire, bitch, get out. Straight up. We gonna hover to about 9 feet, and you gotta jump. Get the fuck out of here. And they gone. This motherfucker, like I say, the helicopter wasn't touching the ground. He kissed it and went right back in the fucking air. Quick as hell, too. Y'all know how helicopters are, how they raise and lower shit real quick. They in a parking lot, man. They was in a part of the parking lot that didn't have no cars parked over there. Like motherfuckers at work. This is in the middle of the daytime. It's like fucking 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm standing there with the sliding door open shit. I'm standing there looking at these motherfuckers. They kept doing it, too. They kept doing it. I'm talking about touch and go, touch and go. Kissing the fucking concrete with the part of the helicopter that sit on the ground. He barely kissing the concrete with that motherfucker. He was precise. He was accurate. And I'm talking about the way he did it, it was enough for your ass to jump out. Get out, bitch. And he rose back in the air. I told y'all they've been flying Chinooks and shit. They've been flying Chinooks through Chicago, the surrounding suburbs and shit. They've been flying the motherfuckers in Chicago since COVID started. When I was living in the city, right? I was living over there by that gold statue that I showed y'all in the video of that gold statue of that woman. I used to live in that neighborhood, right? Right on the lake. I'm talking about you come out your fucking apartment and walk a half a block and you don't see nothing but water, right? I'm talking about Lake Michigan. These helicopters, Chinooks, I seen a couple of look like attack helicopters to me. I've seen unmarked helicopters. You mean no tail markings, nothing is wrote under the belly of the helicopter, nothing on the skinny narrow part of the tail, nothing. They would take the same flight path along the lake into Indiana, going past Gary, Indiana, Maryville and shit like that. As if they was on their way to like curve a little bit left to go up to the state of Michigan. They was taking the same fucking flight path. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They've been doing that shit since COVID started. It's just somebody trying to give y'all the game. Y'all motherfuckers ain't in Chicago. A lot of motherfuckers don't tell you exactly what's going on, and that's it. They want to get on here and pop their collar and do all this other simple-minded bullshit. I get on here, I give you the fucking facts to the best of my ability, and I push on. So I know what's coming down the pipe. What's coming down the pipe, just so in case you motherfuckers don't know, what's coming down the pike is going to be 10 times worse than COVID. And I'm talking about more so with the authoritarian part. It's going to be 10 times worse than COVID. Because they want to ramp this shit up. Because they know they people who was diehard this and diehard this and diehard that, even some of them motherfuckers that took a step back and like, wait a minute now, this don't make no fucking sense. And that number is growing to the amount of people like ourselves, like people like me, been sitting back like, motherfucker, we've been trying to tell you, dumb motherfuckers, like you've been having cotton balls in your ears or something, nigga. Because the simple matter is this, a lot of niggas voted for Donald Trump too. They talk about, over half of Hispanic men voted for Donald Trump. Yeah, we had some niggas too. Oh, so you had no niggas voting for Donald Trump? You mean to tell me no niggas voted for him? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. My point being is the joke's on every fucking body. Okay? I've been asking people for the longest, why do you keep voting for somebody to rule over you? Nobody wants to talk about that either. Share this with a person who vote. Die-hard voting fan. Die-hard Democrat and shit. Share this with him or her. So I can ask him, so I can get up in the camera. Why do you keep voting for someone to rule over you? It means they get in office and then they crawl up your ass. Your ass. You know, the one who voted for them. They literally crawl up your ass after you vote for them. Why do y'all keep doing that? So you mean to tell me Donald Trump is better than Joe Biden? You mean to tell me Joe Biden is better than Donald Trump? For anybody who made it to the end of the video, because I'm going to get it up out of here. They want to lock down the cities. They have to lock down the cities first before they can progress outwards to the other different parts of the country. You got the people who live out in rural areas, they are a lot different from people in the country, and I give them that. But the one thing they don't have is the numbers. That's the one thing they don't have. So this is a game that they playing because they come into the cities first where they have the numbers. Just Chicago alone. Fuck Houston. Fuck that. Houston is what, like the third or fourth largest city? I mean the fourth or fifth largest because Chicago's the third. Ain't Houston like the fifth largest, fourth or fifth largest city or some shit like that? Hell, you can take Houston for example. They don't have the numbers for Houston. Now if niggas in Houston got really pissed off, they will have a problem. My point being is this. Y'all see what they doing. You see the authoritarianism behind it. It's like this. Y'all just kept accepting what they was doing. So now that Donald Trump is back in the office, he full throttle with it. We ain't gonna get into the government shutdown. I ain't finna get into all that. Because like I said, I'm finna end the video. I can't talk for 30, 40, 50 minutes. I got other shit I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So we not gonna even get into the shutdown for the people who made it this far in the video. You know the government's supposed to be shut down, right? Sound like a business to me. You know, sound like 28 USC 3002 subsection 15A. If you ask me. But that's only if you ask. My point being is this. We ain't going to get into that. And how this shutdown is going to be worse than any of the other ones that we've had in American history. This one's going to be worse by far. Trust me. And I'm talking about like in terms of like once they come back in section off, shit gonna be fucked up. And it's gonna continue to get fucked up. That's why I'm asking, what a motherfucker prepared to do? You gotta at least be prepared to say no. I'm not telling nobody to take the arms. This ain't no call to arms video or no shit like that. No, I ain't on none of that. I ain't on none of that. But at the very least, it's like, damn, you gotta say no. Saying no is harmless. It's so harmless to the fact that they get pissed off when you say no. Because they need your compliance. They rely on it. That's why cops get pissed off. They be pissed off at me and they taking me to the station. And they pissed off because I wouldn't comply. And I tell them, I'm going to fuck you up when we go to court. Because I like to show my ass in court. That's a place where you're supposed to show your ass. It's a venue. It's called a court. It's a game, right? I like to show my ass. I like to make sure I say certain things in front of the crowd. Like the other people that's sitting there waiting to get their case heard. I like to make sure I say certain things that they hear that I know is going to piss them off. Because they don't want people to know. So at the very least, like I said, you got to tell them no. At the end of the day, you got to ask them, what are you, a psycho or something? You just like hurting people? You going to hurt me or something? You going to shoot me? You going to fuck me up? You do know you'll just be fucking up another American Indian, right? You do know that, right? Right? You do know I'm not black, right? Oh, man, that shit, they be like, they be looking at you crazy as hell. And it stuns them. I've never ran into one that it didn't. They be stunned. Like, this, and you ain't touched them. So, I'm going to end it with that, man. It's getting real out here. This digital ID shit is connected to the digital currency. Y'all keep talking about this blockchain and all this other bullshit. Keep talking about that shit if you want to. And I'm for real. I'm finna get out of here. But hopefully for the people who watch this to the end. Y'all keep talking about this shit if you want to, man. Blockchain and all this other crypto nonsense. Keep talking about that shit. For real. They're going to have a hand up your ass. That's how they're going to make you move as a puppet. They're going to literally fist your ass and have you up in the air like a fucking popsicle. With your arms and shit moving. That's what's going to happen. Keep playing with these people, man. They are not playing with you. And I'm out.